My own people killed me. Not monsters, not demons, not the apocalypse, people I shared my last can of stew with. They shoved me through the barricade toward the creatures outside because someone needed to be bait and I was the one standing closest to the door. I died learning the exact price of human conscience. 1 can of stew and 30 seconds of borrowed time. The dying part is brief. Pain, then cold, then nothing. The specific nothing of a signal switching off, not a gradual dimming but a clean cut between existing and not. Then, white. Not light, absence of everything else. A space without walls, floor, or ceiling, defined entirely by the fact that I'm standing in it and standing requires a surface and the surface isn't there but my feet believe it is. 3 figures, women, or the shape of women, rendered in colors that don't correspond to anything I've seen with living eyes. The one on the left glows warm gold, Solara. The one on the right is shadow made solid, edges precise and dark, Umbra. The center one is red, not blood red, fire red, the color of chaos organized into a shape, Vera. Jong Suho, Solara says. 22. Student. Dead. Recently dead, Umbra adds. 37 seconds ago. Poorly dead, Vera finishes. Killed by cowardice. Not yours. Theirs. Wasteful. I'm processing dead and 37 seconds simultaneously, which leaves limited bandwidth for conversation. Am I dead? Yes. Permanently? That depends. They show me the shelters. 3 structures materialize in the white space, rendered in detail sharp enough to touch, solid enough to believe in. Arranged left, center, right, like answers on a multiple-choice exam designed by someone with a sense of theater. Left, a military bunker. Steel-reinforced concrete, automated turret systems, blast doors 3 feet thick, a supply manifest showing 12 months of provisions, water recycling, air filtration, solar backup power. Every surface screams competence. Every system screams survival. It's the kind of shelter that governments build for presidents and billionaires, the last resort of people who can afford to outlast the end of the world in climate-controlled comfort. Right, a high-tech complex, sleek, modern, drone surveillance, solar panel arrays, hydroponic gardens, a medical bay with equipment I can't name. Everything automated, everything efficient, the technological optimist's answer to extinction. If we can't prevent the apocalypse, we can engineer our way through it. Center, a barn, wooden, leaning. The roof has a hole. The door hangs on one hinge. Rust covers the lock like a skin condition. It looks like something that would lose a structural argument with a strong wind. Choose, Solara says. 1 shelter, 1 chance, Umbra clarifies. Choose correctly and you return. Reborn, 1 month before the event, with knowledge and coordinates. Choose incorrectly and you remain here. Here being dead, I confirm. Here being dead, correct. I look at the bunker. I look at the complex. I look at the barn. The bunker is perfect. The complex is perfect. 2 perfect options and one that looks like a building code violation. 3 goddesses standing in a white void between life and death do not offer tests with 2 correct answers. Perfect options don't test. They please. And this is not a pleasing situation. This is a test, designed by entities old enough to know that the hardest choice isn't between good and bad. It's between obvious and true. The bunker is obvious. The complex is obvious. They're both so obviously correct that choosing either requires nothing except the basic survival instinct that every human shares. No thought, no sacrifice, no test. The barn requires you to ignore every instinct screaming that it's wrong. The barn, I say. The 3 of them look at me, then at each other. Something passes between them. Not words, not signals, something older than communication. Interesting, Vera says. Solara, the bunker was a shell, hollow, nothing inside except the appearance of safety. A toy. Umbra, the complex was real, functional, advanced, built with genuine technology. It would have collapsed within 24 hours. The materials were designed to degrade. Beautiful and brief. Vera, the barn is the ark. Darkness, not the darkness of death, the darkness of transit, of a signal being rerouted, of a channel switching from one frequency to another. I open my eyes. My room? Dormitory. Sungkyunkwan University, Building C, 3rd floor, room 307. The ceiling crack shaped like a question mark that I've stared at every night for 3 years. My phone on the nightstand, charging, the screen showing the date. 1 month before the world ends. I know the date because I lived it once already. Breach Day, September 14th. That's when the sky splits and the demons come and 4 million people in Seoul alone discover that the universe has more in it than physics suggested. The phone shows August 14th, 31 days. I also know coordinates. They arrived with the rebirth, not as text, not as a message, as knowledge embedded directly into whatever part of the brain stores spatial information. 40 kilometers southeast of Seoul, a village, an abandoned lot, a barn, my ark. I have a month to prepare for the end of the world, using a dead student's savings, a living student's desperation, and the specific advantage of knowing exactly what's coming because I already died from it once. Step 1. Money. I withdraw everything. 3.2 million won. Not much. Enough for bulk supplies if I buy smart and skip brands. Step 2. Quit university. I walk into the registrar's office and submit a leave of absence. The clerk. Reason? Me. Personal. She doesn't press. Students drop out every semester for reasons less dramatic than apocalypse preparation. Step 3. Buy. Bulk rice, canned goods, dried meat, medicine, antibiotics, painkillers, bandages, antiseptic, tools, shovels, axes, rope, tarps. Everything a person needs to survive when supply chains cease to exist. I rent a truck because 3.2 million won of survival supplies doesn't fit in a backpack. My doormates think I've joined a cult. Suho, are you okay? Fine. You bought 40 kilos of rice. In August. I like rice. Nobody likes rice that much. You'd be surprised. I drive to the coordinates. The barn is exactly what the goddesses showed me. Wooden, leaning, roof damage, rusty lock. It sits on the edge of a village that Google Maps describes as Wolpyeong-ri and reality describes as 30 houses, 1 store, no reason to visit. The lot is overgrown, unmarked, invisible to anyone not specifically looking for a barn that shouldn't matter. The lock breaks with a kick. Inside, dirt floor, old straw, the smell of disuse. Nothing remarkable except a metal hatch in the center of the floor, recessed, flush with the ground, easy to miss if you're not looking for it. I open the hatch. Stairs. Concrete, clean, descending into light that has no visible source. 23 steps down and I'm standing in level 1. The living quarters. 10 sleeping alcoves carved into concrete walls, each with a bed, blanket, and storage shelf. A water filtration system humming quietly against the far wall, connected to an underground source. A food storage area, basic provisions, enough for 2 months, vacuum sealed in containers labeled in a language I don't recognize. The ceiling is 3 meters high, the air is clean, the temperature is constant, cool, comfortable, controlled by something I can't see and didn't build. Under a barn, under a field, under a village that doesn't know it's sitting on a bunker designed by goddesses. The system activates the moment I step inside. A blue window, translucent, visible only to me, hovering at reading distance. Arc, level 1. Active residents, 1/10, level 2. Armory, accept 5 survivors, 0/5, level 3 farm. Accept 15 survivors, 0/15, level 4. Workshop, repel first demon wave, level 5 medical bay. Save a critically wounded person. Level 6 command center. 30 survivors plus perimeter defense system, level 7, restart room. All levels unlocked plus defeat regional demon commander breach day, 30 days, 7 levels. Each locked behind a condition, not combat. Decisions, accept people, protect them, save them, build something larger than one person's survival. The goddesses didn't build a bunker, they built a test that continues. I spent 29 days preparing. Moving supplies into level 1, reinforcing the barn exterior just enough that it doesn't collapse, but not enough that it looks maintained. The disguise matters. Scouting the surrounding area, mapping roads, identifying water sources, marking positions where demons will likely appear based on my memory of how Breach Day unfolded the first time. I eat convenience store kimbap for every meal because the survival food is for after. I sleep in the bunker because the dorm bed feels like a lie. I check the countdown every morning the way normal people check the weather. 20 days, 15, 10. Soul above me. 8 million people living their last normal weeks. Students going to class, office workers commuting, grandmothers walking in parks. None of them know. I walk among them when I go for supplies, and the weight of knowing what I know presses on my chest like a physical thing. I can't warn them. Who would believe a 22-year-old dropout talking about demons and sky fractures? I'd be hospitalized, not heard. The information is valuable and useless simultaneously. The worst kind of knowledge. The kind that helps nobody except the person carrying it. 5 days, 3, 1, September 14th, Breach Day. I'm in the bunker, hatch sealed, supplies stocked, system active. Above me, a barn, a field, a village of 30 houses, and a sky that's about to break. It starts at 2:17 p.m. I know because I watched the timestamp on my phone the first time, right before the signal died. This time I watched from underground, through a radio I salvaged from the village store, listening to the frequencies as civilization processes its interruption. The emergency broadcast activates at 2:19 p.m. Standard government tone, the one they test monthly and nobody pays attention to. This is not a drill. Remain indoors. Avoid open areas. Within 10 minutes the broadcast loops because the people recording it have already evacuated. Radio fragments over the next hours. Military mobilization at the Han River line. Seoul districts reporting atmospheric anomalies, which means the sky is red and things are coming through the cracks. Casualty reports that start as numbers and become too large for numbers. Communications die at 6 p.m., power follows at 10 p.m. The radio goes silent. I sit in the bunker, in the quiet, listening to the absence of a world that existed this morning and doesn't anymore. I knew it was coming. I prepared for months, and the silence still hits like a wall. Day 2, Day 3. The village above is empty. The residents fled towards Suwon when the broadcasts started. Smart. Suwon falls on Day 4, but they didn't know that. Day 3, late afternoon. I'm checking the perimeter. A daily ritual, 10 minutes outside, scanning the roads and fields for movement. The countryside is quieter than the city. Fewer demons, fewer targets, but not empty. Movement on the southern road, not demons, people. A man running, carrying something, two somethings, children. One in each arm, neither older than 10, both clinging to him with the grip of kids who've learned that letting go means dying. He sees the barn, the only standing structure in a landscape of abandoned farms. He runs toward it because the alternative is running toward nothing. I'm standing at the barn door when he arrives. He's wrecked, bleeding from a cut on his forehead, clothes torn, breathing in gasps that sound like they might be his last. Please, he says. One word, the only one he has breath for. The system window pulses. Residents, 1/10. Accept survivors to progress, 3 people. A father and 2 children. If I let them in, the bunker gets more crowded, the food depletes faster, and 3 strangers learn about the most valuable shelter within 40 kilometers. If I don't let them in, the system stays at 1/10 and level 2 stays locked and I survive alone in a concrete box while a man and his children die on my doorstep. The goddesses built a test. The test isn't can you survive? The test is can you survive while deserving to? Inside, I say, quickly. He stumbles through the barn, down the hatch, into level 1. The children don't speak. They hold their father and stare at the concrete walls with the wide, unfocused eyes of kids processing a reality that no child should have to process. Residents, 4/10 level 2 armory, 4/54. One more for the armory. I close the hatch, secure the barn door, check the perimeter one more time. The southern road is empty again. Nothing following them, for now. For now. The system counts. The bunker holds. The barn stands, leaning, unremarkable. A disguise so convincing that even the demons walking past it see nothing worth investigating. Somewhere above the clouds, 3 goddesses are watching. I can't see them, but I can feel the weight of observation, the specific pressure of being evaluated by entities who offered me a choice between perfection and a shack and are now measuring what I do with the shack. Day 3, 4 survivors, 6 levels to unlock, a world dying above us, and a barn that isn't a barn, hiding something that might save everyone, if the person inside it makes the right choices. So far, 1 down, the rest is ahead. Mr. Choi doesn't speak for the first 36 hours. He sits in his alcove with his children, Minjun, 10, and Soon, 7, and holds them the way you hold things you almost lost, which is to say, with both hands and without letting go. His wife didn't make it. He says this once, on day 2, in a voice stripped to its mechanical minimum, she was at work. Gangnam. The phones died before I could reach her. He doesn't say more. The silence that follows is the kind that fills a room completely, pressing against the concrete walls, demanding that everyone present acknowledge it without trying to fix it. I give them space. The bunker is small. 10 alcoves, a common area, the water filtration humming its one note. But small spaces can be managed if people respect each other's perimeters. The children eat when food is offered. Mr. Choi eats when the children eat. The rhythm of grief in enclosed spaces. Follow the smallest person's lead. Day 5 after breach. I'm checking the perimeter. Morning round. Same route. Barn to road to field to tree line and back. The countryside has changed. Smoke on every horizon. The distant sounds of things that aren't natural moving through a landscape that used to contain only natural things. No demons near the barn yet, but the radius is shrinking. Movement on the northern road. Single figure. Limping. Moving with the specific determination of someone who's been walking for a very long time and has decided that stopping means dying, and therefore stopping isn't an option. A woman, late 20s, medical uniform, the pale blue scrubs of a hospital nurse, now torn, dirty, and stained with things I don't want to identify. She's treated her own leg wound. A ripped strip of uniform fabric tied around her left calf, the knot precise, the pressure correct. Professional work performed on herself while walking. She sees the barn, adjusts course, limps directly to the door with the focused intent of someone who's been navigating by elimination, not towards something, away from everything else, and has decided this structure is the least terrible option available. I meet her at the door. She looks at me, at the barn, at the gap between abandoned rural structure and young man standing guard with a calm expression during the apocalypse. This is the only building with an intact roof within 2 kilometers, she says, and you're standing outside it like you're expecting company, which means either you're insane or this barn is more than it looks. Option 2. Show me. I show her. The hatch, the stairs, level 1, concrete walls, filtered water, sleeping alcoves, a father and 2 children who look up when a woman in bloody scrubs descends into their bunker. Hana stands at the bottom of the stairs and takes in the scene with the specific clinical assessment of a medical professional encountering a new environment. Exits, hazards, patients, resources. Her gaze lands on the children first uninjured, fed, stable, then Mr. Choi grief, functional, no visible wounds, then the water system operational, then me. Under the barn. A bunker, of course. She sits on the nearest bed. Her leg wound is seeping, because this day couldn't possibly be normal. Welcome. I'm Suho, Yoon Hana, nurse. Walked from the Pyeongtaek clinic, 30 kilometers in 2 days with a torn calf muscle because the buses have stopped running and the taxis have been eaten. She looks at the wound. Do you have a proper medical kit? Level 5. What? There'll be a full medical bay. Later, when we meet certain conditions. Right now, bandages and antiseptic. She stares at me for 3 seconds. Then takes the bandages and antiseptic and redresses her own wound with the efficient self-sufficiency of someone who's spent a career treating other people and finds treating herself mildly insulting but acceptable under the circumstances. Residence, 5/10, Level 2. Armory, unlocked. The notification pulses blue in my peripheral vision. 5 survivors. Condition met. A new stairway opens. Not physically, not with machinery. The wall at the far end of Level 1 develops a door that wasn't there 30 seconds ago, as if the concrete decided to rearrange its molecules in response to a system command. Behind the door, stairs descending further. Everyone notices. Mr. Choi stares. The children hide behind him. Hana, mid-bandage wrap, pauses. Did the wall just grow a door? Yes. And you're not surprised. I've had a month to get used to this. Level 2. The Armory. A room twice the size of Level 1, walled with weapon racks. Not guns. The goddesses don't operate on gunpowder rules. Cold weapons, swords, spears, axes, warhammers, bows with quivers. Each one crafted from a metal I can't identify. Lighter than steel, darker than iron, with an edge that catches the light in ways that suggest sharpness is a permanent state rather than a maintained one. I pick up a sword. The balance is perfect. Not good for a sword perfect, but designed by entities who understand physics at a level humans haven't reached perfect. The blade doesn't reflect my face. It absorbs light slightly, as if the metal exists at a frequency adjacent to visible. Armor racks along the far wall, light chainmail, bracers, helmets, greaves. Functional, not decorative. Sized to fit a range of bodies, adjustable. The kind of equipment that says we expect you to fight in this rather than we expect you to look impressive in this. I arm myself. Sword, chainmail, bracers. The weight is less than expected. The material compensates for mass in ways I don't understand and don't need to. Mr. Choi picks up an axe. His hands close around the handle with the natural grip of a man who's swung tools his whole life. Not a weapon grip, a worker's grip, but the axe doesn't know the difference, and neither does a demon. Hana, I'm a nurse, not a warrior. Everyone's a warrior now, or everyone's dead. Third option doesn't exist. She looks at the weapons, at the spear rack, at me. Something in her expression calculates. Not fear, not acceptance, the clinical evaluation of a situation where the treatment plan has changed and the new plan involves stabbing things. She takes a spear. Holds it like someone who's never held a weapon, but has held surgical instruments, which means her hands are steady, and her grip is precise, even if the application is unfamiliar. If I die holding this, I'm haunting you specifically. Fair. The first demons arrive on day 6. 3 of them. Small, dog-sized, the scout variant I remember from my first life. They travel in packs, mapping terrain, reporting back to whatever coordination system the demons use. Fast, sharp-clawed, individually manageable but dangerous in numbers. They approach the barn at dusk, drawn by, what? The heat signature of 5 humans? The scent? Some demonic radar that detects life the way life detects sound? I don't know the mechanism. I know the result. 3 creatures circling the barn, testing the walls, scratching at the door I reinforced 3 weeks ago. I go outside. Sword in hand, chainmail on, the full weight of arc equipment on a body that's never worn armor before. The first demon turns toward me. Red eyes, black chitin, a mouth designed for functions more aggressive than eating. It lunges. I swing. The arc blade cuts through the demon like the demon is made of something softer than it should be. Not effortless. The impact travels through my arm. The resistance is real. The creature is solid and hostile and very much trying to kill me. But the metal reacts to demonic flesh differently than normal steel would. It doesn't just cut, it disrupts, the wound edges flickering as if the blade's frequency conflicts with the demon's biology on a level deeper than physical. Demon 1, down. 4 seconds. Demon 2 and 3 attack together. Flanking, coordinated, the basic tactical awareness that makes even small demons dangerous. I catch one with a backswing and miss the other. It gets inside my guard, claws raking across my forearm below the bracer's edge. Pain, sharp, cold, wrong. Demon claws carry something that makes wounds feel worse than their depth justifies. Mr. Choi appears at the barn door. Axe. He doesn't say anything. He steps forward and buries the arc axe into the third demon's spine with the overhead swing of a man who's been splitting wood since before the creature existed. 3 demons. Maybe 90 seconds total. The arc weapons work, but these are scouts. The small ones. My first life taught me what comes after scouts. The medium variants, then the large, then the organized waves. The escalation curve doesn't plateau, it steepens. Hana treats my forearm after. The claw wound is shallow but burns. The wrongness lingers, a cold that antiseptic doesn't touch. She cleans it, wraps it, and then sits back on her heels and looks at me. You knew they would come. Yes. You knew when the apocalypse would start. You were prepared. The supplies, the bunker, the timing, you knew. Yes. How? Long story. We don't have long stories down here, Suho. We have a bunker and demons. Short version. I consider the options. Lie. Sustainable but limiting, because the system will keep revealing things that require explanation. Truth. Insane sounding but efficient, because once you accept the premise, everything else follows logically. I died. 3 weeks into the apocalypse, my first time through. The people I was surviving with pushed me outside as bait. 3 goddesses offered me a choice. 3 shelters, pick one, get reborn a month before breach day. 2 shelters looked perfect. 1 looked like a barn. I chose the barn. It was the right answer. Silence. Hana processes this with the same clinical assessment she applies to everything, not emotional evaluation but diagnostic review, checking the claim against observable evidence. You died. Yes. 3 goddesses. Yes. And you chose a barn over a military bunker because you suspected the obvious answers were traps. Yes. And the barn turned out to be a 7-level underground complex with a weapons armory that dispenses supernatural swords. That's an accurate summary. She picks up the antiseptic, puts it back in the supply box, closes the box with deliberate, controlled motion. Fine, that's insane enough to be true. Nothing sane explains this bunker anyway. She stands. I'm going to check on the children. When I come back, you're going to explain every level of this system, what the conditions are, and what we need to do to unlock them. All of them. Because I'm not dying in a bunker that has a medical bay I can't access because you haven't hit the right checkpoint. Deal. And Suho? Yeah? Next time demons show up, warn me before you walk outside. I need prep time. I'm not combat ready in scrubs and bandages. Deal. She climbs the stairs to where the children are sleeping. Mr. Choi follows, axe still in hand, the black ichor of the 3rd demon drying on the blade he hasn't cleaned yet because putting down the weapon requires a level of safety he doesn't feel. Night in the bunker, 5 people underground, the world burning above. The children sleep in their alcove. Minjin curled around Son, the geometry of siblings protecting each other from things they can't name. Mr. Choi sits beside them, not sleeping, hands busy with a shelf bracket that came loose. He tightens it, checks it, tightens it again. A construction worker who can't build the thing that's broken, fixing the things that aren't. Hana sits in the common area, reviewing the supplies I've stockpiled. She's making an inventory, medical, food, tools, with the systematic thoroughness of someone who manages resources professionally and is deeply unhappy with the current resource situation. I sit across from her, cleaning the demon scratch with a second application of antiseptic because the cold hasn't faded, and I don't know if that's normal. The silence is different from Mr. Choi's silence. His is grief. This is assessment. 2 people sharing space, measuring each other's usefulness, deciding whether the partnership imposed by circumstance can become the partnership required by survival. The medical bay, she says without looking up. Level 5. What's the condition? Save a critically wounded person. Without a medical bay. Without a medical bay. She writes something on her inventory list, underlines it. That's either a paradox or a test of improvisation. Either way, I'll be ready. I believe her. Hana doesn't make promises, she makes assessments, and her assessment is that when the moment comes, she'll be enough. Outside, somewhere beyond the barn and the field and the village, the world continues its process of ending. Demons move through landscapes that used to belong to people. Cities burn with fires nobody's fighting. The infrastructure of civilization, power, communication, transportation, law, unravels thread by thread. Down here, 5 people, an armory of impossible weapons, and a system that promises more if I keep making the right choices. Level 3 needs 15 survivors. Level 4 needs a repelled demon wave. Level 5 needs a saved life. Level 6 needs 30 people and perimeter defense. Level 7 needs everything. 5 down, everything else ahead. The shelf bracket holds. Mr. Choi checks it one more time. Hana finishes her inventory. The children sleep. Ordinary night in the Ark, the first of many. I patrol every morning. 5-kilometer radius, 2 hours, sword on my hip, scanning roads and fields for 2 kinds of movement, people running from things and things running toward people. My first life gave me a map that still works. The demons concentrate around rifts, and the rifts open along geological fault lines, which means the low ground is dangerous and the ridges are survivable. Day 9. A dirt road south of the village, connecting 2 farming communities that no longer exist. A scout demon. Medium-sized, faster than the dog variants from day 6, hunting something on the road ahead of me. It's hunting a man. He's running. Not panicking, running with purpose. Military gait, controlled breathing, the specific body mechanics of someone who's been trained to move under threat. Army jacket, no weapon, blood on his sleeve that might be his or might not. The demon closes. The man turns to face it. No weapon, no armor, just fists, and the decision that if he's going to die, it won't be from behind. I'm 60 meters out. I close the distance at a sprint, sword drawn, and hit the demon from the flank. One cut. The arc blade opens its side. It staggers, turns, catches my second swing on its forearm chitin. We engage. The man doesn't run. He picks up a rock, a big one, the size of a fist, and drives it into the demon's skull from behind while I hold its attention. The rock doesn't kill it, but it distracts it long enough for my third swing to find the gap between its head and shoulder plates. The demon drops. The man drops the rock. We stand on a dirt road, breathing hard, looking at each other across a dead monster. You have a base? He asks. No introduction. No thank you. Priorities. Yes, I need a base. I need a fighter. Then we're settled. Kwon Tae-hyuk, 30. Former Army Sergeant, 7th Infantry Division. His unit was deployed on Breach Day, standard military response to an unprecedented threat, which means they followed protocols designed for human enemies against things that aren't human. The protocols didn't hold. His unit was overrun on day 1, 18 soldiers. Tae-hyuk survived because he was running communications from a position 200 meters behind the line when the line ceased to exist. He doesn't say he was lucky, he says he was positioned incorrectly, which is his way of carrying the guilt of survival without acknowledging it directly. 18 people died in front of him. He watched from communications distance, close enough to see, too far to help. He doesn't talk about it. He takes an arc sword from the armory, tests the weight, runs through basic forms with the mechanical precision of someone whose body remembers training even when his mind is elsewhere. Good steel, he says. First compliment, possibly last. Day 12. I'm scouting a collapsed convenience store 3 kilometers east. Potential supply source, shelving likely intact if the structure held. The structure held. What I find inside is something else. The basement, dark, cold, smelling of spilled rice and something metallic. 5 demon corpses on the floor, small variants, the scout type. Each one killed with blunt force trauma to the skull. The weapon, a garden shovel, metal-headed, standing upright against the wall, blade stained black with ichor. Behind the counter, sitting in the dark, holding the shovel across her knees, a girl, 16 maybe. School uniform, the blue blazer of a Gyeonggi Province high school, torn at the shoulder, dirt on the pleats. Her face is calm. Not the calm of shock. The calm of someone who's processed a terrible situation and arrived at a functional response. You killed 4 demons with a shovel, I say. 5. One's behind the counter. I check. She's right. Number 5, wedged behind the register, skull caved in by what was clearly a precise overhead swing. You're 16. So? Nothing. Let's go. Shin Nari. Her family, parents, older brother, was in Seoul on Breach Day. She was at school in the suburbs. The school evacuated. The evacuation bus broke down. The group scattered. Nari ended up in the convenience store, alone, with a shovel she found in the back storage area, and 3 days of silence interrupted only by demons that made the mistake of entering a building occupied by a teenager who decided that dying wasn't on her schedule. She doesn't cry. She doesn't talk about her family. She carries the shovel into the bunker and puts it next to her alcove and eats the food I give her and watches everything with eyes that process without performing. The specific intelligence of someone who learns by observation and speaks only when speaking adds value. Day 14. 15 survivors. The bunker has filled in increments, 2s and 3s, brought by Tae-hyuk's patrols and my daily sweeps and the organic drift of desperate people moving through a landscape that's running out of safe places. A retired teacher, a truck driver, a couple in their 30s who won't let go of each other's hands, a university student who somehow carried a full backpack of instant noodles for 20 kilometers and considers this a reasonable survival priority. Residents, 15/10 overflow, level 1 at capacity, level 3, farm, unlocked. The wall grows another door. By now, the veterans, Hana, Tae-hyuk, Mr. Choi, have stopped reacting with surprise and started reacting with expectation. The newcomers stare. The children think it's magic. It might be. Level 3, the farm, an underground agricultural space larger than the previous 2 levels combined. High ceilings, artificial lighting that simulates sunlight without producing heat, rows of hydroponic beds filled with growth medium and seeded with plants I don't recognize. Not rice, not wheat. Something else. The goddess's contribution to agriculture, apparently. Seeds that germinate in hours, produce harvestable food in 7 days, and yield enough per cycle to feed 20 people indefinitely. The vegetables look almost normal. Close to lettuce, close to sweet potato, close to tomatoes, but not quite any of them. They taste better than their appearance suggests. Mr. Choi takes over agricultural operations because his construction background includes irrigation systems and his personality includes the need to build things. Within 3 days, the farm is organized, productive, and generating surplus. For the first time since the bunker opened, we're not counting cans, we're counting harvests. The surplus changes the math of everything. Food security means we can accept more survivors without calculating whether each new mouth exceeds the supply margin. The bunker stops being a lifeboat, limited capacity, every addition a trade-off, and starts being a settlement. Open doors instead of closed ones. Day 18. 22 survivors. The bunker hums with the specific noise of a small community functioning. Farm work schedules, cooking rotations, supply organization, the constant low conversation of people who share space and purpose. And then the demons come properly, not scouts, not strays, a wave. 23 medium-sized demons moving in formation, approaching the barn from 3 directions simultaneously. Coordinated. Intentional. Something, not these demons, something above them, has noticed us. Taehyuk takes command of defense with the natural authority of a man who spent a decade being trained for exactly this kind of moment and has been waiting, guilty and ready, for the chance to use it. He positions fighters at 3 points around the barn: the road approach, the field approach, the tree line. 8 fighters total. The rest are farmers, children, or Hana, who stations herself in the bunker entrance with medical supplies and a spear she's learned to hold correctly, if not confidently. Contact in 90 seconds, Taehyuk calls from the road position. 3 groups, 7, 8, 8. Middle group has a large variant, twice normal size, might be a pack leader. I take the field approach with 3 fighters. Taehyuk holds the road. Mr. Choi, axe, steady hands, grim face, holds the tree line with 2 others. The wave hits simultaneously. 3 directions, 3 engagements. The specific chaos of defending a position against coordinated attack with a force that's outnumbered and undertrained. My group kills 4 in the first 60 seconds. Arc weapons do their work, the metal disrupting demonic flesh with every cut. But the demons learn. They stop charging individually and start flanking, using their numbers to create angles I can't cover alone. Taehyuk's group holds the road through discipline. He runs the defense like a military operation, calling positions and rotations with the clipped efficiency of a man who's done this on training grounds 1,000 times and is now doing it for real. Mr. Choi's tree line breaks. A demon gets through, medium variant, fast, heading for the barn entrance, where Hana stands with 20 civilians behind her. Nari intercepts, not from the defensive position where I told her to stay. From the flank, moving fast, holding not the arc bow I gave her, but the shovel she carried from the convenience store. She swings with the specific, practiced overhead strike that killed 5 demons in a basement, and the shovel connects with the demon's skull at an angle that suggests she's spent the last 12 days refining a technique that started with desperation and has become something closer to expertise. The demon drops. Nari stands over it, shovel in both hands, breathing hard, 16 years old and covered in black ichor. I told you to stay in reserve, I say, after the wave is cleared and 23 demon corpses are being dragged away from the perimeter. You told me to stay in the back. The back is where the demon was. I was in the right position. She's not wrong. I hate that she's not wrong. First demon wave, repelled, level 4. Workshop, unlocked, level 4, the workshop. Crafting benches, tool racks, a forge that burns with heat that doesn't come from fire. Resources, demon cores, the crystallized remains left when demons die near arc weapons, combined with materials from the surface. The cores serve as power sources, enhancement catalysts, the magical industrial fuel of whatever economy the goddesses designed. Mr. Choi stands in the workshop doorway and doesn't move for 30 seconds. Then he walks to the nearest workbench, runs his hands along the surface, picks up a hammer that fits his grip like it was made for him, which, knowing the goddesses, it might have been. This, he says, first word with emotion since he told us about his wife, this I can work with. Within a week, he's producing upgraded equipment, reinforced armor, sharpened blades, tools that make the farm more efficient and the perimeter more defensible. The construction worker who fixed shelves because he couldn't fix the world has found something he can fix that matters. Taehyuk stands at the perimeter at sunset, scanning the horizon. The wave came from the southeast, toward the rift I know is there, the one generating demons for the entire region. The waves will get bigger. The coordination will improve. Whatever commands these things is learning about us the same way we're learning about it. Next wave will be bigger, he says. Not a question. Yes, we need more people, more fighters. We need 30 for the next level, 30 and a perimeter defense system. Then we recruit. He shoulders his sword. I'll range further tomorrow. 10-kilometer sweep. Bring back everyone who can walk. Night. Level 1. I'm standing at the hatch, looking up through the barn at a sky I can barely see through the hole in the roof. 3 silhouettes on the hill beyond the perimeter. Visible for 1 second, the golden warmth of Solara, the dark precision of Umbra, the red chaos of Vera, standing, watching, evaluating. I blink. Gone. The arc system flickers. One message, brief, observing, continue. They're watching. They've been watching since the barn, since the choice. Since I decided that the worst-looking door was the right one and walk through it, the test continues. Not just survive, not just build, but something I'm only beginning to understand. Something about what it means to choose people over safety, community over bunker, the hard answer over the easy one, again and again, until the choosing itself becomes the answer. 22 survivors, 4 levels open, 3 to go. The goddesses watch, the demons gather, the barn stands. Continue. Day 23, 22 survivors. The arc operates. Farm produces, workshop builds, armory equips, defense holds. A small society underneath a barn, functional in ways that shouldn't be possible and fragile in ways I try not to think about. The problem arrives from a direction I should have anticipated, but didn't. Other humans. A convoy, if you can call 3 trucks and a school bus with the seats ripped out a convoy, appears on the road from the west at midday. 40+ people, mostly men, armed with the specific assortment of weapons that you accumulate when you raid hardware stores and military surplus shops. Baseball bats wrapped in barbed wire, machetes, kitchen knives duct taped to broom handles, and one hunting shotgun carried by a man who holds it like he knows what it does. They stop 300 meters from the barn. A delegation approaches. 5 men, led by someone whose size and scars suggest a resume that predates the apocalypse. Baek Jung-go, tall, wide, shaved head, a scar across his jaw that he clearly considers an asset rather than a disfigurement. He walks with the confidence of someone who's never entered a room wondering if he belongs in it, which is the specific confidence of people who've decided that every room belongs to them. Nice place, he says, surveying the barn, the field, the perimeter markers Taehyuk set up. Quiet area, good sight lines. Someone's been busy. Can I help you? Baek Jung-go, Iron Yard. He says it like a brand, not a name. We run security for survivor settlements in this region. Protection, supply coordination, threat management, professional services. What does that cost? 50%. Everything you produce, food, weapons, materials, half comes to us. In exchange, he spreads his hands, a gesture of generous magnanimity that doesn't reach his eyes. We don't burn your barn. Behind me, I hear Taehyuk shift his weight, the metallic sound of his hand finding his sword hilt. No, I say. Jung-go's expression doesn't change. The smile stays. The kind of smile that's really a warning wearing pleasant clothes. That's not the answer most people give. Most people don't have what I have. And what's that? I don't answer with words. I look at Taehyuk. Taehyuk whistles. 10 fighters step out from positions Taehyuk placed them in 20 minutes ago when the convoy first appeared on the road, positioned behind cover, armed with arc weapons, the dark metal catching sunlight in ways that make the baseball bats look like what they are. Furniture. Jung-go looks at the weapons, at the armor. At the specific quality of equipment that doesn't exist in the normal world and therefore can't be taken from a hardware store. Where did you get those? Not from a hardware store. The first skirmish is brief. Jung-go sends 15 men, a probe, testing our response. They advance with the aggressive disorganization of people who've been winning through intimidation and haven't encountered organized resistance. Taehyuk's 10 meet them at the perimeter. Arc swords against baseball bats, arc chainmail against kitchen knives. The shotgun fires once, the slug hits a bracer and deforms against metal that wasn't designed by anyone on Earth. The 15 retreat in 90 seconds, not routed, recalled. Jung-go watches from the trucks, calculating. He's not a fool. Fools don't build 40-person operations in 3 weeks of apocalypse. He sees the weapon quality, the defensive positioning, the discipline, and he does what smart predators do. He withdraws to prepare a better approach. We'll be back, he says, with bigger numbers. He means it. The Iron Yard isn't a gang. It's a survival economy built on extraction, and economies don't accept no for an answer. They escalate. The trucks leave. Taehyuk watches them go, with the expression of a man who knows they're coming back and is already planning for the return. How long before he comes back with everything he has? 10 days, maybe 2 weeks. He needs to recruit more people, find better weapons. But he'll come. We need more people, more levels, more everything. We need level 6. 30 survivors and perimeter defense. Then we have 2 weeks to find 8 more people, and build a perimeter that holds against more than baseball bats. The recruitment push. Taehyuk ranges further, 15-kilometer patrols covering roads and villages that haven't been swept yet. Each trip brings back 1, 2, 3 survivors. Some are fighters, most aren't. All are hungry, scared, and willing to trade uncertainty for the specific certainty of a concrete ceiling and a farm that produces food. Day 26, 27 survivors. Close, not close enough, and then the critically wounded arrive. Taehyuk's patrol finds them on the highway, a young man, maybe 20, and the woman who's been carrying him for the last 2 kilometers. He's been clawed by a demon, deep across the abdomen. The wound partially held together by a blood-soaked jacket pressed against it with the desperate pressure of someone who understands that releasing the pressure means releasing the life. They get him into the bunker. Onto the table in the common area that serves as everything: dining, planning, and now emergency surgery. Hana takes over, strips the jacket, sees the wound. Her face goes through a specific transition that I've learned to read in 3 weeks of watching her work. Assessment, calculation, and the particular stillness that means the math is bad. Deep laceration, abdominal wall compromised. Possible organ damage. I can't tell without imaging. Blood loss is critical. He needs a transfusion, a sterile surgical environment, and equipment I don't have. She looks at me. I need the medical bay. Now, the system, level 5, condition, save a critically wounded person. The paradox hits me. The medical bay opens when I save someone, but saving this person requires the medical bay. The system demands the result as the key to the tool that produces the result. The young man's pulse drops. Visible on his neck, the rhythm slowing, the spaces between beats widening. Hana works with bandages, pressure, the specific field medicine techniques that nurses learn and hope never to use outside training scenarios. It's not enough. The wound is too deep, the blood loss too advanced, the gap between nurse with bandages and surgeon with equipment too wide. He's going, Hana says, flat, professional. The voice of someone reporting a medical fact while their hands continue working because stopping isn't an option even when the outcome is determined. I stare at the system window, the condition, the paradox. The goddesses built this, 3 entities who designed a test where the impossible is the point. The system updates, condition interpreted, attempt at maximum effort, effort detected, maximum level 5, medical bay unlocked, the wall opens. Not slowly, immediately, as if the concrete has been waiting for exactly this moment and is done waiting. A door, stairs, and behind them, level 5. The medical bay, surgical tables, instrument racks, monitoring equipment that displays vitals in formats I don't recognize, medication storage with labeled drawers, and, in the center, a capsule. Glass and metal, human-sized, filled with a luminous gel that pulses with the same subtle frequency as the arc weapons. Regeneration capsule, goddess technology applied to medicine. There! Hana screams. She's already moving, dragging the young man from the common table toward the stairs with a strength that her nurse's frame shouldn't contain but does because adrenaline and desperation are their own kind of steroids. I help carry him, down the stairs, across the medical bay, to the capsule. Hana opens it. The glass lid rises, the gel parts, we place him inside. The capsule closes. The gel surrounds him, covering the wound, entering it. The luminous substance working with a specificity that suggests it understands human biology better than the humans. It's healing. The monitors activate, pulse stabilizing, blood pressure rising, the abdominal wound visibly closing on a screen that shows internal imaging in real time. He lives. Pulse steady. Breathing normal. The wound closes over 20 minutes, the capsule performing in minutes what would take a hospital weeks, undoing damage that field medicine couldn't touch. Hana stands beside the capsule, watching the monitors. Her hands are covered in blood, his blood, from the carry, from the bandaging, from the 20 minutes of maximum effort that bought the time the system needed to recognize that she was trying with everything she had. She sits on the floor, not gracefully, collapses really. The specific descent of a body that's been running on crisis mode and has finally been told it can stop. Hands on her knees, blood drying on her fingers, eyes closed. Next time, she says, open it in advance. The system doesn't work in advance. Then the system is an idiot. Can't argue. I just performed field surgery with bandages and antiseptic while your magical bunker waited to see if I was trying hard enough. She opens her eyes. The goddesses who built this have a deeply questionable understanding of medical ethics. They're testing, not treating. Then they can test someone else's blood pressure. Mine has exceeded specifications. The young man, his name is Park Jae-hoon, we learn when he wakes, recovers fully within 6 hours. He sits up in the capsule, looks at the medical bay, looks at Hana, looks at the blood on her hands that she still hasn't washed because washing them would require standing up and standing up isn't happening yet. You saved me, he says. She saved you. I correct. I carried you. She did the saving. Hana from the floor, eyes still closed. The capsule saved you. I just yelled loud enough for the bunker to notice. Evening, late. The bunker has settled into its post-crisis rhythm. The quiet hum of a community processing an event that was too intense for real-time emotions and is now releasing them in increments. The young man sleeps in the medical bay. His companion, the woman who carried him 2 kilometers, sleeps beside the capsule, refusing to leave. Nari finds Hana in the medical bay. She's carrying a bowl of food, farm produce, the goddess variety lettuce-like thing that tastes better than it looks, plus rice from the stockpile. Hana hasn't eaten in 12 hours. Nari doesn't say you should eat because Nari doesn't say things that are obvious. She sets the bowl in Hana's lap and sits beside her on the floor. Hana eats. Slowly, mechanically, the way you eat when your body needs fuel and your mind hasn't caught up to the concept of normalcy, Nari sits, doesn't speak. 16 years old, 5 demon kills and counting, occupying the space beside a woman twice her age with the specific companionship of someone who understands that sometimes the most useful thing you can do is exist next to a person who's exhausted. 2 women on a medical bay floor. One saved a life through skill and stubbornness, the other killed demons with a shovel and refuses to sit where she's told. Normal evening in the Ark. The system counts. 29 survivors now. 1 more for level 6. Jungo is gathering strength. The demons are gathering numbers. The clock ticks on both fronts. Human threat from the west, demonic threat from the north, and a barn in the middle that neither of them understands. 1 more survivor, then the command center, then the perimeter defense, then everything that comes after. Hana finishes the bowl, hands it to Nari. Thank you. You're welcome. You should sleep. You should sleep first. I'm the medical professional. I decide who sleeps. I'm 16. I don't listen to medical professionals. Hana almost smiles. Almost. Fair. They sit. The medical bay hums. The capsule glows. 1 more. The 30th survivor is a postal worker. His name is Kang Wonsik, 53, and he walked 40 kilometers from Pyeongtaek carrying a mail satchel that still contains letters he was supposed to deliver on breach day. He hasn't opened them. He hasn't thrown them away. He carries them because some part of his professional identity refuses to acknowledge that the postal service has ceased to exist, and delivering them would require recipients who are probably dead, so the letters exist in a limbo that mirrors his own. He's not a fighter, he's not a strategist, he's a tired man with a bag of undelivered mail and nowhere left to walk. I'd let him in. Residence: 30, level 6, command center, condition 1/230, survivors check condition 2, perimeter defense system 1 condition met, 1 to go. Tae-hyuk has been building the perimeter for 5 days, anticipating level 6's requirements through the specific military logic that says defense is always needed, regardless of whether a system tells you to build it. Trenches at 3 approach points. Barriers constructed from disassembled vehicles. 2 trucks from the Iron Yard's abandoned convoy, stripped for parts by Mr. Choi's workshop team. Observation posts at 4 compass points, manned in rotation. Nari takes the northern post. She's traded the shovel for an arc bow. The workshop produced it last week, Mr. Choi's best work, a recurve design with the goddess metal limbs and a string that Nari can draw smoothly despite being 16 and having forearms that her gym teacher would have described as developing. She's accurate, disturbingly accurate. 3 weeks of daily practice on demon targets have turned natural hand-eye coordination into something approaching marksmanship, and the arc arrows, which fly straighter than physics should allow, compensate for any gap between natural talent and trained expertise. The perimeter completes on day 31. Tae-hyuk inspects every position, every trench, every sightline with the thoroughness of a man who knows the inspection might be the difference between defended and overrun. It'll hold against 50, he says, maybe 60. Against a coordinated military force with heavy weapons, no. Against a mob with baseball bats and a shotgun, yes. The system confirms perimeter defense system, complete level 6, command center unlocked level 6, the deepest level yet, stairs descending past the medical bay, past storage areas I haven't fully explored, into a room that hums with energy I can feel in my teeth. The command center. A circular room, walls dark, dominated by a central projection, a holographic display of the surrounding territory in a 20-kilometer radius. Real-time. Everything. Terrain, structures, movement, heat signatures. The display shows every demon within range as a red point, every human as a blue one. I stand in front of it and see the world as the goddesses see it. From above, complete, every piece visible. Blue points cluster around the barn, 30 of them, our people, concentrated in the arc. Scattered blue points across the countryside. Survivors I haven't found yet, alone or in small groups, living in whatever shelter the collapsing world provides. Red points, demons, concentrated in patterns that confirm what I knew from my first life. They swarm around rifts, spread outward in waves, and coordinate through something that isn't language but functions like it. The largest concentration sits 15 kilometers north, the regional rift, the source, and somewhere inside it, the commander. But that's not what stops my breathing. To the west, moving. A cluster of blue points, not scattered, organized, 40, 60, 80, moving east on the road, moving toward us. Tae-hyuk. My voice is steady because I make it steady. We have incoming, 80 plus, west road, 6 kilometers out. He's beside me in seconds, reading the hologram the way he reads everything, as tactical data, not emotional input. Speed suggests vehicles. ETA, 90 minutes. Iron Yard, with reinforcements. He's been recruiting. Tae-hyuk traces the road on the hologram. Approach is single lane for the last 2 kilometers. If they're in vehicles, they'll dismount at the tree line and advance on foot. Jungo came back, with bigger numbers. He raided a military depot. The hologram shows the heat signatures of firearms, metal objects carried by multiple individuals, the specific thermal profile of weapons that shoot bullets instead of swinging. 80 raiders with guns versus 30 survivors with divine swords. The math looks wrong until you factor in what 30 has that 80 doesn't. A tactical hologram that shows enemy positions in real time, a perimeter built by a professional soldier, and weapons that cut through body armor the way they cut through demon chitin. Battle stations, Taehyuk says. The words carry through the ARC's communication system. Speakers in every level, installed by Mr. Choi last week because a base without comms is a building with furniture. 30 people move. Not all fighters. 12 are combat ready, trained by Taehyuk over 3 weeks. The rest take positions in the ARC. Farm level protected, Medical Bay Hana preparing for casualties, Workshop Mr. Choi producing last-minute equipment repairs. I stay in the command center. My position, the place where I'm most useful, is behind the hologram, watching 80 points converge on 30, calling positions and adjustments to Taehyuk through the comms. Not because I can't fight, because a leader who fights is a leader who can't see the whole field, and the whole field is what wins battles that shouldn't be winnable. Nari is on the northern observation post. I told her to stay in the ARC. Taehyuk overruled me. She's the best archer we have. Putting her underground is wasting our strongest ranged asset because you're worried about her age. She's 16. She's killed more demons than half our adults. Age is a number. Accuracy is a weapon. He's right. I hate that he's right. The pattern continues. The Iron Yard arrives at dusk. They dismount at the tree line, exactly as Taehyuk predicted, and advance on foot. The hologram shows their formation. Loose, aggressive, 3 groups approaching from the west, southwest, and northwest. Not military tactics. Mob tactics with a thin veneer of organization provided by someone who's watched enough action movies to know that surround them is a concept. They have guns, rifles, shotguns, 2 handguns. The firearms change the calculus. A bullet kills regardless of whether the person firing it has discipline or training. You don't need to be a soldier to pull a trigger. You just need to point in the right direction and be lucky. Western Group, 23, approaching the main trench. Southwest, 18, moving through the drainage ditch. Northwest, 15, wide approach across the open field. I relay positions through the comms. Taehyuk. Southwest Group is trying to flank through the ditch. They'll hit the secondary position in 4 minutes. Redirecting. Jinsu, take 3 to the ditch. Hold until they commit. The battle unfolds on the hologram like the world's most violent strategy game. Blue points and not quite red points, the system categorizes humans differently than demons, showing raiders as orange maneuvering across terrain I can see completely, and they can see partially. The Western Group hits the main trench. Gunfire, the sharp crack of rifles, bullets hitting earth and sandbags, and the metal barriers that Mr. Choi reinforced with workshop-grade plating. Taehyuk's fighters hold position, below the firing line, waiting. They're reloading. Inconsistent. 2 have jammed already. Discipline is non-existent. Taehyuk finishes. Engaging, his fighters rise from the trench. Arc swords against men who've emptied their magazines and are now holding expensive metal clubs. The close-range advantage is total. Divine steel versus jammed hunting rifles is not a contest. It's a lesson. The Southwest Group hits the ditch. Jinsu's team meets them, 3 against 18, which sounds suicidal until the 18 discover that the ditch is narrow, their guns are difficult to aim in confined spaces, and the 3 defenders have weapons that cut through improvised body armor like it's decorative. Northwest Group, the wide approach across the open field. Nari's position. Nari, 15 hostiles crossing the open ground, 400 meters. Range, her voice on comms, calm, 16 years old and steady as stone. In range. Arc arrows cross 400 meters in under 2 seconds. The first one hits the lead raider in the shoulder. Not lethal, not intended to be. The second hits the ground at the feet of the next one. The message is clear. I can reach you, and the next one goes where I want it to go. The Northwestern Group's advance stalls. 15 people in an open field with arrows landing around them recalculate their commitment to the Iron Yard's cause and find it lacking. They scatter. 20 minutes. The Western and Southwestern groups are pushed back. Not routed, compressed, the same tactical pattern I've seen in every fight where numbers meet preparation and preparation wins. Jungo's raiders are tough, motivated by survival and greed, but they're not soldiers. They break when the cost exceeds the expected reward, and the cost has exceeded expectations dramatically. But Jungo doesn't break. He comes through the western trench alone, massive, machete in hand, having walked through the gap his retreating fighters left, not charging, walking. The specific pace of a man who's decided that if this operation fails, it fails because of him, not because he ran. He reaches the barn. The silo entrance. The door that hides the hatch, that hides the ark, that hides everything. The last door between him and what he came for. I'm there. Not because I'm the best fighter. Taehyuk would handle this faster, cleaner, with less risk. Because the leader defends home. Because when people are watching, and they're always watching, the person who stands at the door determines what kind of community lives behind it. Jungo sees me. The kid from 2 weeks ago, the one who said no with 10 fighters at his back. now standing alone at a door with a sword. Last chance, he says. Machete up. Give me the base. You've never been inside it. You don't know what it is. I know it has food, weapons, and walls. That's enough. It has more than that. It has people who chose to be here. They chose this barn. They chose me. And they'll choose to keep fighting long after you and I are done with whatever happens next. He swings. The machete comes in hard, fast, aimed at my neck. The stroke of a man who's killed with this weapon before and considers the act procedural rather than emotional. I duck. Not gracefully. Survival first, form second. The way I've moved since the first life taught me that people who want to kill you telegraph with their shoulders before their arms. His swing passes over me. I cut. Sideways. Low. The arc sword opening a line across his thigh that drops him to one knee. He swings again from the knee. I step back, let the machete pass, and bring the sword down on the blade. The arc metal meets the machete steel and the machete loses. The blade snaps, the handle flies, and Jungo is kneeling in front of a barn holding a broken weapon. I don't kill him. I put the sword tip under his chin and lift until he's looking at me. Who are you? He asks. Not angry anymore. Genuinely confused. The confusion of a man whose worldview contains categories like victim and threat and has just encountered something that fits neither. A guy who chose a barn. What? Long story. The iron yard breaks. Scattered across the perimeter, leaderless, outfought by 30 people defending a building that looks like it should fall down in a strong wind. Some run, some surrender. The ones who surrender are, after considerable debate, Hana against, Taehyuk neutral, Nari in favor, accepted into the Ark. Former raiders disarmed, assigned to farm duty, the most improbable personnel transition in the history of personnel transitions. 3 of them turn out to be decent workers. 2 more are useless but harmless. The rest leave voluntarily within a week, unable to reconcile following orders from a 22-year-old who lives under a barn with their self-image. Jungo goes to the medical bay. The thigh wound is deep. Hana treats it because she treats everyone, regardless of what they did 5 minutes ago. Medical ethics doesn't have an asterisk that says except for people who attacked your home. He lies in the capsule and stares at the ceiling and doesn't speak. I don't know what he's thinking. I don't need to. 80 raiders with firearms couldn't take a barn defended by 30 people with swords, because the barn isn't a barn. And the 30 aren't just 30. They're 30 people who chose to be here, equipped with weapons that don't exist, coordinated by a system that sees everything, and led by someone who already died once and has opinions about doing it again. The tactical screen clears. Orange points disperse, blue points hold. The northern rift still pulses. The demon commander still waits. Level 7 still locked. But the barn stands, the people stand, and the iron yard is a memory. One more level, the last one, the one that ends everything. Time to stop defending and start finishing. Part 6. Level 7. The tactical screen shows the rift as a red wound in the hologram, pulsing, expanding fractionally each day, generating demon signatures that spread outward in waves like ripples from a stone dropped in dark water. 15 kilometers north, the source of everything that's been trying to kill us since Breach Day. Last condition, level 7, restart room. Condition, all levels unlocked, check plus defeat regional demon commander location. Northern Rift, 15.2 kilometers, 43 people in the Ark now. Farm producing surplus, workshop running 3 shifts, medical bay operational, command center tracking every movement within 20 kilometers. A functioning society under a barn, built by a postal worker, a construction worker, a nurse, a sergeant, a schoolgirl, and 22-year-old who chose the worst-looking door in a dead man's afterlife. Time to open the last one, the strike team. 12. Me, Taehyuk, 8 of our best fighters, 3 of whom are former Iron Yard raiders, which makes the universe's sense of irony more active than I'd prefer. Hana, field medical, because injuries on a 15-kilometer march through demon territory are not a possibility but a scheduling question. And Nari. No, I say when she shows up at the departure briefing with her bow. I killed 5 demons with a shovel. A shovel. I'm 16 and I'm more effective than half your adults. We've had this conversation multiple times. I always end up going. This isn't a perimeter defense. This is a march into the largest demon concentration in the region to fight something that commands all of them. I know, that's why you need your best archer. Taehyuk checking his sword, not looking up. She's right, take her, put her in the rear. The rear is where the demons flank from, then put her where you want. She'll end up where she needs to be regardless. He's right, she's right. The pattern continues, and at this point, arguing with Nari about tactical deployment is less productive than arguing with the weather. Rear guard, you do not advance past the main line. If I die, you retreat to the Ark. Acceptable, I'm serious. So am I. If you die, someone needs to get back and tell Hana to seal the hatch. She says it matter-of-factly, the way she says everything, without emotional padding, the raw data of a 16-year-old who processes apocalypse the way other teenagers process exam schedules. Mr. Choi stays at the command center, operating the hologram, coordinating our route, the construction worker turned tactical coordinator because the Ark's systems respond to competent hands regardless of their original trade. We march at dawn. 15 kilometers through territory that hasn't been cleared, hasn't been scouted on foot, and is densely populated with demons that range from manageable to run. The command center feeds our route through comms. Mr. Choi's voice, calm, steady, guiding us around concentrations and through gaps the hologram reveals. The first 8 kilometers cost us 3 hours and 2 fights. Medium demons, pack variants, dispatched by Taehyuk's squad with the efficient brutality of people who've been training for this since the Ark opened its armory. Ark weapons cut clean. The demons fall. We move. Kilometer 10. The density increases. Red points on the comms feed clustering ahead, not random, organized, a defensive perimeter around the rift. Whatever commands these things has arranged guards the way a general arranges sentries, layered, overlapping, designed to slow and bleed any approaching force. 3 engagements in 2 kilometers. Harder fights, larger demons, faster, with the specific aggression of creatures defending territory rather than hunting prey. Hana treats wounds between encounters, a deep cut on a fighter's shoulder, a claw rake across Taehyuk's forearm that he dismisses as surface despite the blood running freely to his wrist. Kilometer 13. The rift becomes visible. Not a crack. A vortex. Dark red, 20 meters across. Vertical, rotating slowly with the patient mechanics of something that's been open for weeks and has no intention of closing. The air around it shimmers with heat that isn't thermal, mana discharge, the specific temperature of a tear between dimensions that was never meant to exist and maintains itself through force rather than physics. Around the vortex, demon guards. Large variants, the biggest I've seen, each one twice human height, armored in natural chitin that's thicker and darker than the scouts and mediums we've been fighting. Organized into positions that suggest military thinking applied through a non-human intelligence. 12 guards, Taehyuk counts from cover. Perimeter formation, standard sentry pattern. They rotate every 90 seconds. Can we take 12 of those? We can take 12 of anything. The question is what it costs. It costs. The fight at the rift perimeter is the hardest we've faced. 12 large demons against 12 humans. Arc weapons versus evolved chitin. In a space saturated with mana that makes every wound sting deeper and every movement cost more energy than it should. Taehyuk fights like the soldier he was trained to be, methodical, positional, using his squad as a unit rather than individuals. Each fighter covers the one beside them. Each demon is engaged from multiple angles. The formation holds because Taehyuk doesn't allow it to break, his voice on comms a constant stream of corrections and commands that turn chaos into choreography. 7 minutes. 12 guards down. 1 fighter with a broken collarbone. Hana sets it in 4 minutes using a technique she describes as field expedient and medically questionable. The rift. Up close, it's worse. The vortex pulls at something beyond the physical. A sensation like vertigo applied to the soul rather than the body. Looking directly at it produces a wrongness that my brain interprets as nausea and my instincts interpret as leave. We enter. The interior of the rift is not what I expected. Not chaos, not void. A space. Constructed. A platform of black stone, floating in a darkness that extends in every direction without boundary. The platform is circular, 50 meters across, lit by the red glow of the vortex edges above. On the platform, the commander, 5 meters tall. Humanoid, roughly, in the way that a sculpture is roughly human. The proportions adjusted for threat rather than function. Armored in chitin that's darker than the guards, layered with the specific density of something that's been growing for weeks without interruption. Horns, too, curving backward from a skull that sits above eyes like miniature rifts, red deep, containing the same wrongness as the vortex itself. It speaks human. The voice comes from everywhere. The platform, the darkness, the air itself, carrying weapons not of this world. Who gave them to you? 3 women who offered me a barn. The observers. Recognition. Not surprise, not concern. The recognition of something that knows the goddesses exist and considers them a factor rather than a threat. So, you're their project. A test subject, armed and directed. How does it feel to be an experiment? Ask me after I've finished the experiment. The commander rises. The full height, 5 meters of evolved chitin and concentrated malice, moving with a fluidity that shouldn't be possible for something that large. Projects break. The fight is everything at once. The commander doesn't fight like the demons we've faced. Not pattern-based, not instinct-driven. It fights with intelligence. Adaptive, responsive. Reading our formation and targeting weak points with the strategic precision of something that's been commanding battles since before it entered the rift. Taehyuk tanks, positions himself between the commander and the squad, absorbing strikes with his shield and arc armor that buckle but hold. Each hit drives him back 2 meters. He doesn't retreat. He resets and holds. The fighters flank, pairs, attacking from angles while the commander's attention is on Taehyuk. Arc swords cut the chitin, opening wounds that bleed dark fluid and begin to close almost immediately. Regeneration. The commander heals faster than we damage. I coordinate and fight simultaneously. calling positions through comms while engaging directly during openings. The arc sword bites deeper than the standard weapons. The blade's reaction to the commander's flesh is different, more aggressive, as if the goddess metal recognizes what it's cutting and objects to its existence on a molecular level. But not deep enough. The commander regenerates from every wound I inflict. We're in a war of attrition against something that doesn't attrite. 3 fighters go down, not dead, disabled. Hana drags them behind cover on the platform's edge, treating injuries in the narrow space between the darkness and the fight. Taehyuk takes a direct hit, the commander's fist, full force, connecting with his chest plate. The arc armor holds. Taehyuk's ribs don't. The crack is audible across the platform. He staggers, stays standing, raises his sword. Refuses to fall. I've fallen before, he says, blood on his lips. Not doing it again. The commander winds up for another strike. Right arm raised, the full 5-meter height extending upward, the chest exposed. Chest. Nari's voice from the rear, cutting through the noise with the specific clarity of someone who's been watching the entire fight from behind and has seen what the people fighting can't see. When he raises the right arm, there's a core, center chest, behind the second chitin plate. It's glowing. It only shows from behind and to the right. Hit it now. The core. The demon's power source, visible only from an angle that the frontline fighters can't achieve because they're facing it head-on. Nari, stationed in the rear, seeing the fight from a perspective nobody else has, spots the weak point through the gap that appears for exactly 2 seconds when the commander raises its right arm. 2 seconds. The commander's arm is up. The core glows, faint, pulsing, the red of the rift concentrated into a point the size of a fist, visible through a gap in the chest chitin that opens during the wind-up and closes when the arm comes down. I move. Everything I have, every lesson from the first life, every fight since the arc opened, every death that taught me how to survive, channeled into a single sprint across the platform, past Taehyuk, who shifts to give me the angle, under the raised arm, sword extended. The arc blade enters the core. The sensation is indescribable. The sword vibrates. Not with impact, but with conflict, the goddess metal reacting to the concentrated demonic energy like matter meeting antimatter. The commander screams, not the roar of a monster, but the structural failure of something that's been holding itself together through force and has just lost the thing that generates the force. The core shatters. The commander staggers, falls. 5 meters of chitin and malice hitting the Blackstone platform with the finality of a system shutdown. The rift responds. The vortex above us stutters, the rotation slowing, the red light fading, the wrongness that filled the air dissipating like fog in morning sun. The rift is closing, the source is dead, the connection between wherever the demons come from and where they arrive has been severed. We run, off the platform, through the collapsing rift, into daylight that feels like forgiveness after the red dark of the interior. The vortex contracts behind us, shrinking, folding, the 20-meter wound in reality healing itself in seconds. Gone. The rift is gone. The commander is gone. The demons in the surrounding area, cut off from their coordination source, scatter, disoriented, reduced from organized threat to individual hazards. Regional Demon Commander, defeated all conditions, met level 7. Restart room unlocked. The march back takes 5 hours. Slower. We're carrying wounded, running on adrenaline that's fading, moving through countryside that's noticeably quieter. Fewer demons, the ones that remain avoid us as if the death of their commander has rewritten their targeting protocols and the humans with the shiny swords are now filed under do not engage. The arc, the barn, the hatch, down into level 1 through cheering that I don't fully hear because the last 12 hours have consumed processing bandwidth I didn't know I had. Level 7, the last stairway. Deeper than the command center, deeper than the medical bay, deeper than anything the arc has shown us. The stairs descend into silence. The room at the bottom is white. Not the white of paint or plaster. The white of the space where I died. The void between worlds. The place where 3 goddesses offered me a choice. The same white. The same emptiness. The same feeling of standing on a surface that my feet believe exists and my eyes can't confirm. In the center, a pedestal. Simple, stone, waist height. On top, a button. Single, round, unlabeled. The most important object in the world, and it looks like a doorbell. And against the far wall, 3 figures, Solara, Umbra, Vera. The same forms, the same colors, gold, dark, red. Standing where they stood when I was dead, watching me with the same evaluating attention they watched me with when I chose a barn over a bunker. You passed, Solara says. You chose correctly, Umbra adds. Twice. The barn, which was the true shelter. And the people, which was the true test. One more choice remains, Vera says. The button. I look at it. Look at them. Look at the white room that exists beneath a barn, beneath a field, beneath a village where the world ended and 43 people refused to end with it. The button, I say. The restart, Solara confirms. Press it and the earth returns to its state before the breach. Every rift closes, every demon dissolves, every building stands, every dead person lives, every dead person, everyone. And the memory? Umbra. Erased. All of it. Every human on Earth returns to the day before the breach with no knowledge that the breach occurred. The scars heal. The trauma lifts. The world begins again, clean. Except me. Except you. The operator remembers. The price of the restart is carrying the memory alone. No one will know what happened. No one will know what you did. No one will know what they survived. The room is quiet. The button waits, the goddesses watch, and behind me, up the stairs, through 6 levels of concrete and goddess engineering, 43 people are alive because I chose a barn. I look at the button. One more choice. The button is smaller than it should be. The most important object in existence, the mechanism that undoes the end of the world, looks like something you'd press to call an elevator. No label, no instructions, no warning. Just a circle of smooth stone on a pedestal in a white room at the bottom of a barn. If I press this, I say, everyone who died since Breach Day comes back. Everyone, Solara confirms. Seoul, Pyeongtaek, Suwon, every city, every village, every road. The 4 million in Seoul alone, the millions worldwide. All of them, alive, whole, return to the moment before the breach as if it never happened. And nobody remembers. Nobody remembers. Umbra's voice is precise, measured, delivering the cost of the transaction the way an accountant delivers a final total. Every human on Earth returns to September 13th with no knowledge that September 14th was anything other than an ordinary day. The scars heal, the trauma lifts, the grief dissolves, the world begins again. Hana won't remember. No. Taehyuk won't remember. No. Nari. Mr. Choi. The postal worker with the letters, the couple who held hands, the kids who slept in the alcove, the raiders who became farmers, Ji-hoon, the one Hana saved in the capsule. None of them. None of them. I look at the button. Look at the 3 figures standing against the white wall. Gold, dark, red, the same trio that offered me a choice when I was dead and are offering me another now that I've earned the right to make it. Why does it have to erase memory? Vera speaks. The red one, the chaos one, the goddess who called my death wasteful and hasn't softened since. Because a world that remembers its end is a world that builds on fear. Every decision, every relationship, every structure, filtered through the knowledge that everything can be taken. People who know the apocalypse is possible don't build civilizations. They build bunkers. I built a bunker. You built a community inside a bunker. There's a difference. Your bunker had open doors. Fear builds locked ones. The logic is clean. I hate clean logic when it justifies taking things from people. I think about Hana, sitting on the medical bay floor after saving Ji-hoon, blood on her hands, eyes closed, accepting a bowl of food from a 16-year-old who understood that the most useful thing she could do was exist nearby. Hana, who called the system an idiot and the goddesses ethically questionable and who healed Jungo, the man who attacked our home, because medical ethics doesn't have exclusion clauses. She won't know any of this. The woman who ran a medical bay underground with goddess technology and nurses' stubbornness won't remember the moment her hands shook after a man's pulse came back, or the specific relief of watching a capsule do what bandages couldn't. I think about Taehyuk, standing at the rift with broken ribs, sword up, refusing to fall because he fell once before, when his unit died and he lived, and decided that falling was something he'd done for the last time. The sergeant who carried guilt like a physical weight and set it down on a platform of black stone when he stood between a demon commander and the people behind him. He won't carry the guilt anymore, but he won't carry the redemption either. Both erased. The scale balanced by removing both sides. I think about Nari. 16 years old, 5 shovel kills, an arc bow she learned to shoot in 3 weeks, and the specific unbreakable refusal to stay where she was put, because staying where you're put is what people do when they've accepted that someone else knows better, and Nari has never accepted that. She'll be at school, studying for exams, arguing with her parents about curfew, living the specific, ordinary, unbearable normalcy of a teenager who doesn't know she saved 12 people by spotting a weak point that no adult could see. I think about Mr. Choi, fixing shelves, fixing weapons, fixing a world, one repaired surface at a time, because fixing is what you do when the thing that's actually broken, your family, your life, the gap where your wife used to stand, is beyond your tools. His wife will be alive. He'll come home from work and she'll be there, and he won't know that he spent weeks grieving her in a concrete box while his hands found purpose in a goddess forge. He'll have her back. He won't know he lost her. The cruelty and the kindness are the same gesture. The price, Umbra says, is not the memory. The price is carrying it alone. Nobody will know what happened. Nobody will know what I did. Nobody will know what they did. The fights, the choices, the nights in the bunker, the meals shared, the wounds healed, the walls defended. All of it. Erased for everyone except the person who made it possible. That is the price. Why me? Why does the operator remember? Solara, because someone must. A world without memory of what it survived is a world that doesn't learn. You are the learning, the single point of continuity between the world that ended and the world that begins. You carry what they cannot. I stand in the white room. The button waits. Patient, inanimate, indifferent to the weight of the decision it enables. 43 people are alive because I chose a barn. Millions are dead because an apocalypse happened. The button fixes one at the cost of the other. Everyone lives, nobody remembers, and I stand in the gap between those two things for the rest of my life. It's not a choice. Not really. The math is too obvious, the scale too lopsided, the number of lives restored too massive to weigh against one person's loneliness. 4 million in Seoul. Millions more. Every person who died screaming or running or fighting or hiding since September 14th, all of them, back. Alive. Whole. Against that, my memories, my connections, my people. The barn taught me something. The right choice doesn't look right. It looks like a wreck with a hole in the roof. It looks like loss. It feels like giving up the thing you want most in exchange for the thing the world needs most. I press the button. White light. Not a flash. A wave. Rising from the pedestal, from the floor, from the foundations of the ark, up through level 7, level 6, through the command center and the medical bay and the workshop and the farm and the armory and the living quarters, up through the hatch and the barn and the field and the village, spreading outward in concentric rings across the earth. The light is warm, not burning, healing. It moves through the ground like water through dry soil, reaching every rift, every demon, every broken building, every body that fell and didn't get up. The rifts close, not with violence but with a sound like an exhale, the specific noise of a wound deciding to heal. Demons dissolve, not dramatically, not screaming, just fading, the way a signal fades when the source is switched off. Buildings stand, windows unshatter, roads unpave their cracks. The infrastructure of civilization, power lines, water mains, bridges, hospitals, reconstructs itself in reverse, damage rewinding frame by frame until every structure stands as it stood on September 13th. The dead open their eyes. Everywhere. In Seoul, in Pyeongtaek, in Suwon, in every city and village and road where people fell and stayed. They open their eyes and they're lying in their beds or sitting at their desks or standing in their kitchens, and the date on their phone says September 13th, and nothing is wrong, and nothing was ever wrong, and the faint feeling of unease that some of them notice for a half second fades before they can identify it. The world begins again, clean, whole, unaware. I open my eyes. My room, dormitory, Sungkyunkwan University, Building C, 3rd floor, room 307. The ceiling crack shaped like a question mark. My phone on the nightstand. The date? September 13th. The day before. A breach that will never happen. I lie in bed for 11 minutes. Counting ceiling tiles. Processing the specific silence of a world that doesn't know it was saved. In a room that doesn't know it was the starting point of something that mattered more than anything that will ever happen in it again. Then I get up, get dressed, go outside. Seoul. Morning. Alive in the way that Seoul is always alive. Noisy, crowded, indifferent to individuals, beautiful in its indifference. Cars honk, students walk to class, a grandmother feeds pigeons in the park across from the university gate. Neon signs advertise things that nobody needs and everyone buys. No rifts, no demons, no smoke on the horizon, no silence where sound should be, just a city, just a morning. Just 8 million people who will never know how close they came to not having this. The bus stop near the university clinic. A woman in medical scrubs waits for the 5012 bus, drinking iced coffee, scrolling her phone with the absent concentration of someone whose morning commute is too familiar to require active navigation. Badge. Yoon Hana. Nurse. She's 3 meters away, close enough to speak to. Close enough to see the face I watched save a man's life in a capsule built by goddesses, the hands that stitched wounds by flashlight, the expression that said the system is an idiot with the specific conviction of someone who's correct and knows it. She doesn't look up. Why would she? I'm a stranger, a student at a bus stop, unremarkable, unfamiliar, not part of her morning or her life or her memory. The bridges I built, from fights and blood and bowls of food in underground bunkers, exist only in my architecture. Her side of the bridge was never constructed. The connection is real and entirely one-directional, which is the specific cruelty of loving someone who doesn't know they're loved because the reasons for the love were erased by a button you pressed yourself. I don't approach. Approaching would mean explaining, and explaining would mean saying we survived the end of the world together to a woman who had a normal Tuesday yesterday and would reasonably assume I'm having a mental health crisis. The bus arrives. Hana boards. The doors close. She sits by the window, still scrolling, still drinking coffee, carried away by public transportation toward a shift at a clinic that wasn't destroyed, treating patients who weren't killed, living a life that continued uninterrupted because a stranger in a dormitory pressed a button. The bus turns the corner. Gone. University campus. Afternoon. A group of high school students. Prospective applicants. Orientation tour. Matching lanyards. They cluster near the library, taking photos, laughing about something that's only funny when you're 16 and everything is either hilarious or catastrophic with no middle ground. One of them, short hair, alert eyes, a posture that's slightly too composed for a teenager on a school trip. Shin-nari. 16. Alive. With friends, with family, with the specific radiant normalcy of a girl who has never held a shovel as a weapon, and has never killed anything larger than a spider, and has never sat on a medical bay floor at midnight feeding rice to an exhausted nurse. She laughs at something her friend says. The laugh is bright and unguarded and entirely free of the weight that I watched her carry in a bunker where 16-year-olds weren't supposed to be, but were because the alternative was worse. I walk past. She doesn't look. Why would she look at a passing student? I'm nobody. The person who saw her kill 5 demons and spot a commander's weak point, that person exists only in my memory. She's better off. The thought lands with certainty and ache in equal measure. A cafe near the campus gate. Inside, a man in an army jacket, casual, off-duty, ordering an Americano with the relaxed manner of someone whose unit is intact and whose conscience is clear. Kwon Tae-hyuk, 30. Alive. His unit, 18 soldiers. Alive. The guilt he carried through the arc, the weight that bent his shoulders and sharpened his fighting into something redemptive, erased. Not forgiven. Erased. The event that created the guilt didn't happen. He's lighter. I can see it in how he holds his coffee. One hand, loose, the grip of a man who isn't clenching against anything. The Taehyuk I knew held everything like it might be taken. This one holds things like they'll stay. I sit at the next table. We don't look at each other. 2 strangers in a cafe, separated by a table and the memory of a war only one of them fought. Evening? Dormitory? Room 307. The ceiling crack. The bed. The silence. Not bunker silence. The deep, pressurized quiet of concrete walls holding back a world that's ending. Normal silence. The kind that fills a room when one person sits in it with nothing to do except be present in a world that functions without their intervention. My phone vibrates. A message from a classmate. Suho, you coming to lecture tomorrow? I look at the screen. An ordinary question from an ordinary person on an ordinary evening in a world that will have an ordinary tomorrow. I type, coming, send. Put the phone down. Look at the ceiling. In my memory, compressed, vivid, permanent, everything. The white void. 3 goddesses. The barn with the hole in the roof, the hatch, the stairs, the blue system window counting survivors like a patient teacher counting answers. Hana's hands, Taehyuk's sword, Nari's arrows, Mr. Choi's hammer on the forge, the postal worker's undelivered letters, the children sleeping in the alcove, the sound of the ark's water filtration, that one-note hum that became the soundtrack of home. The button, the light, the wave that rewrote the world and erased the proof. Bitter? Yes. Every day. Every face that doesn't recognize mine. Every bus that carries someone away who used to sit beside me in the dark. Every laugh from a girl who doesn't know she saved 12 people by seeing what adults couldn't. Regret? I think about 4 million people in Seoul waking up tomorrow, going to work, eating breakfast, complaining about traffic and weather and the small indignities of lives that continue because a 22-year-old chose a barn, built something inside it, and then gave it up so the world could start over. No, not for a second. 3 shelters, 2 looked like salvation, 1 looked like a wreck with a hole in the roof. The right choice never looks right. The best door is the plainest one, and the real cost of saving everyone is carrying the memory alone, not as punishment, but as proof that it mattered. It mattered. Every fight, every level, every person who walked through the hatch and decided to stay, every night in the bunker, every meal shared, every wound healed, every demon killed with a shovel by a girl who refused to sit where she was told. It mattered. And I remember, and that's enough. Suho closes his eyes. Tomorrow, lecture, ordinary life, ordinary world. He carries everything. They carry nothing. The math is unfair. The math was always unfair. But somewhere in the gap between unfair and necessary, a barn stands in a field, empty now, disguise intact, looking like nothing worth choosing. It was everything. Morning comes. The world doesn't end. That's the whole point.